I woke up on my 57th birthday with the strangest sensation on my head. Something felt wrong, lighter, exposed. I reached up instinctively, and my hand touched bare skin where my hair should have been. My fingers moved across my scalp in disbelief, feeling only stubble and what seemed like small cuts. I sat up fast, my heart racing, and looked down at my pillow. It was covered in long strands of chestnut and silver hair. My hair. The hair I had been growing and carefully maintaining for decades. I stumbled out of bed, my legs shaky, and practically ran to the bathroom mirror. What I saw made my stomach drop. My entire head had been shaved, not professionally, not carefully. It was choppy, uneven, with patches completely bald and others with jagged tufts sticking up. There were small cuts across my scalp, some still bleeding slightly. I looked like someone had attacked me with dull clippers while I slept. Because that is exactly what had happened. My hands trembled as I touched my ruined head. This could not be real. This had to be some kind of nightmare. But the cold air on my exposed scalp, the sting of the cuts, the clumps of hair still falling from my nightgown told me this was very, very real. Someone had come into my bedroom while I was sleeping and done this to me. In my own home. In my own bed. I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my bedroom. My door, which I distinctly remembered locking before bed, was slightly ajar. The footsteps got closer, and then the door swung open fully. There stood Chloe, my daughter-in-law of 2 years, holding her phone up like she was recording me. She had this smile on her face. Not a kind smile, not an embarrassed smile, a satisfied, cruel smile that I had never seen on her before, but somehow did not surprise me. "Good morning, Isabeau," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Happy birthday. Did you sleep well?" I could not speak. I just stared at her, at that phone pointed directly at my destroyed head, at that smile that told me everything I needed to know. She had done this. My son's wife had snuck into my bedroom in the middle of the night and shaved my head while I slept. "Gosh, you look so different," Chloe continued, walking closer with that phone still recording. "I barely recognize you. What happened to your hair?" "You know exactly what happened," I finally managed to say, my voice shaking with rage and shock. "You did this." She laughed, actually laughed. "Me? Why would I do something like that? Maybe you did it yourself. You know, at your age, people sometimes get confused, do things they don't remember." Behind her, I heard another sound, another person laughing. My son Benjamin appeared in the doorway, looking at me with his phone out too. He was filming me as well. My own son. The boy I had raised, the child I had poured everything into after his father died 4 years ago, was standing there laughing at my humiliation. "Ben," I said, my voice breaking. "Benjamin, do you see what she did to me?" He tried to stop laughing but could not quite manage it. "Mom, come on. It's just hair. It'll grow back." Just hair? I felt tears starting to form, but refused to let them fall. Not in front of them. She broke into my room while I was sleeping and attacked me. "How can you stand there laughing?" Chloe stepped even closer, her phone inches from my face now. "Gostou do meu presente, sogra? Parabéns e aproveite o seu dia. Did you like my gift, mother-in-law? Happy birthday and enjoy your day." She said it in Portuguese, her voice mocking, knowing I would understand. She had used that phrase before, usually when she wanted to be condescending without Benjamin fully catching on. That was when something clicked inside me. Standing there in my bathroom, looking at my destroyed reflection, listening to my daughter-in-law mock me in Portuguese while my son laughed, I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. They thought they had won. They thought they had humiliated me beyond recovery. They had no idea what I had been sitting on for the past 3 months. The brown envelope in my safe downstairs suddenly felt like the most important thing in the world. "Get out of my room," I said quietly. "What was that?" Chloe leaned in with her phone. "I couldn't hear you, Isabeau." "I said get out of my room, both of you, now." Benjamin finally stopped laughing. "Mom, don't be dramatic. Chloe was just playing around." "Playing around? Your wife snuck into my bedroom in the middle of the night and assaulted me while I slept. She shaved my head without my consent. That is not playing around, Benjamin. That is assault. That is a crime. Now get out before I call the police right now." Something in my voice must have convinced them I was serious, because Chloe lowered her phone and stepped back. "You wouldn't call the police. Don't be ridiculous. It was just a birthday prank. Out. Now." They left, finally, and I locked the door behind them. I could hear them in the hallway, Chloe's voice raised, probably complaining about my reaction. Benjamin's voice lower, trying to calm her down. I leaned against the door and looked at myself in the mirror again. The shock was starting to wear off, and anger was taking its place. Pure, cold anger. I walked to my closet and pulled out one of my Hermes scarves, the navy one with the gold pattern that Richard had bought me in Paris during our 20th anniversary trip. I wrapped it carefully around my head, hiding the damage, securing it at the nape of my neck. It looked elegant, I realized. Not like I was hiding something, but like I had chosen this look deliberately. That helped somehow. Made me feel less like a victim and more like myself again. I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about that brown envelope. 3 months ago, I had noticed something strange on the credit card statement. Benjamin had added Chloe as an authorized user on his corporate card about 6 months into their marriage, which I had thought was unwise but said nothing about. It was his decision. But 3 months ago, when he asked me to review some business expenses for tax purposes, I noticed a pattern. Expensive lunches every Tuesday and Thursday. Always the same restaurant, Balthazar in Soho. And then, stranger still, charges for the Gramercy Park Hotel on those same days. I had tried to convince myself there were innocent explanations. Maybe she was meeting clients. Maybe the hotel charges were for conferences. But something in my gut, the same instinct that had built an $8 million consulting business over 32 years, told me I was lying to myself. So I had done something I never thought I would do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Thomas Rutherford, recommended by a colleague who had gone through a messy divorce. I gave him Chloe's photo, her work schedule, and told him to follow her on Tuesdays and Thursdays. 6 weeks later, the brown envelope arrived by courier. I remember sitting in my home office, the Manhattan skyline visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows, holding that envelope and knowing that whatever was inside would change everything. 47 photographs. Chloe entering restaurants with a man I did not recognize. Chloe getting into his car. Chloe entering the Gramercy Park Hotel with him at 2:15 in the afternoon. Chloe leaving that same hotel 3 hours later, hair mussed, makeup smudged. The man was older, maybe mid-40s, attractive in that corporate executive way. The investigator had included a dossier. Marcus Delano, 45 years old, vice president of marketing at Carlson & Hughes, Chloe's direct supervisor, married to Jennifer Delano for 16 years, father of 2 children, Sophie and Nathan, ages 8 and 5. I had put the envelope in my safe that day and tried to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to show Benjamin immediately. Part of me wanted to confront Chloe myself. But another part, the part that had negotiated billion-dollar mergers and knew when to hold cards close, told me to wait, to watch, to see if Benjamin would figure it out himself, to see if Chloe would stop, to see if I was wrong about everything. I had been waiting for 3 months, watching my son come home later and later from work, clearly avoiding his own apartment, watching Chloe become more hostile toward me, more controlling of Benjamin, more comfortable in her cruelty. And now this attack, this birthday gift. I stood up and walked to my window. Central Park stretched out below, the early morning light making the trees glow gold and green. Somewhere down there, people were jogging, walking their dogs, living normal lives where their daughters-in-law did not assault them in their sleep. I touched the scarf on my head and made a decision. Chloe had crossed a line. She had not just been cruel or dismissive or manipulative. She had physically attacked me in my own home while I was unconscious and vulnerable. She had filmed it. She had mocked me, and my son had laughed. That envelope in my safe was no longer something I was debating about using. It was ammunition, and I was about to load the gun. I took my phone from the nightstand and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I needed. Edward Whitfield, senior partner at Whitfield & Associates, the law firm that had handled several of my corporate acquisitions over the years. I had his personal cell number from a charity gala we had both attended last year. It was 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday, but this could not wait. He answered on the 3rd ring, voice groggy. "Isabeau?" Is everything all right? Edward, I need your help. Something has happened, and I need legal advice immediately. Can you meet me today? There must have been something in my voice because he did not hesitate. Of course. My office at 9? I'll be there. And Edward, I need you to bring someone who specializes in assault cases. This is not corporate law. A pause. Assault? Isabeau, are you hurt? Should you be calling the police? I will explain everything when I see you. 9 o'clock. Thank you, Edward. I hung up before he could ask more questions. Then I walked to my safe, entered the combination, and pulled out the brown envelope. I held it in my hands and felt something like satisfaction beginning to bloom beneath the anger. Chloe thought she had destroyed me this morning. She thought she had won some kind of victory. She had no idea that she had just given me every justification I needed to destroy her right back. But first, I needed to document everything. I went back to the bathroom and carefully photographed my head from every angle, making sure to capture the cuts, the uneven patches, the clear evidence that this was not something I had done to myself. Then I looked through my bedroom for any evidence of how she had gotten in. The lock on my door was not damaged, which meant she had a key or had picked it somehow. I checked my nightstand drawer where I kept a spare key to Benjamin's apartment that he had given me years ago. It was gone. She must have taken it weeks ago, made a copy of my bedroom key, and waited for the perfect moment. I sat on my bed and opened my laptop. I needed to check something. I logged into my home security system and pulled up the footage from last night. My building had cameras in all the common areas, and I had my own cameras in my penthouse hallway. I scrolled back to 2:43 in the morning, and there it was. Chloe, walking quietly down my hallway, letting herself into my bedroom with a key. She was carrying a bag. 26 minutes later, she came back out without the bag, looking satisfied. I downloaded the footage and saved it to 3 different locations. Then I did something else. I searched Facebook for any posts from Chloe's account. Her privacy settings were not as tight as she probably thought they were, and within minutes I found what I was looking for. A private group called Real Talk, No Filter, with 47 members. And there, posted 2 hours ago, was a photo. My photo. Me in the bathroom mirror, bald head visible, looking shocked and devastated. The caption read, "Birthday present for my controlling mother-in-law. Maybe now she'll mind her own business. Enjoy your special day, Isabeau." 23 people had already liked it. 11 had commented with laughing emojis. I screenshot everything and saved it with the rest of my evidence. By the time I finished gathering everything I needed, it was 7:30. I took a long shower, letting the hot water wash away the small spots of blood on my scalp. I dried off carefully and looked at myself in the mirror again. Without the shock and anger clouding my vision, I could see that I actually looked rather striking. The bone structure Richard had always praised was more visible now. My green-gray eyes seemed larger, more intense. I looked like someone who had survived something, which I supposed I had. I chose my outfit carefully. My charcoal Tom Ford pantsuit, the one I wore to the most important negotiations. A cream silk blouse underneath, my Cartier watch and simple pearl earrings. I wrapped the Hermes scarf around my head again, this time styling it more deliberately, like a turban. When I looked in the mirror, I saw exactly what I wanted to see. Not a victim, not someone broken, but a woman who was about to go to war and knew she was going to win. At 8:15, I left my penthouse and took a taxi to Whitfield and Associates. The morning was cool and crisp, the kind of October day that reminded me why I loved New York. By the time I walked into Edward's office at exactly 9 o'clock, I felt completely calm, focused, ready. Edward stood when I entered, his eyes widening slightly when he saw my scarf. "Isabeau, thank you for coming. This is Patricia Chen, one of our partners who specializes in criminal and domestic assault cases." A woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed and professional, shook my hand and gestured for me to sit. "Before we begin," Edward said carefully, "do you need medical attention? We can go to a hospital right now." "No," I said. "I have already photographed everything, and the cuts are superficial. What I need is legal counsel on how to proceed." I placed the brown envelope on his desk and then pulled out my phone with all the evidence I had gathered this morning. My daughter-in-law broke into my bedroom at 2:43 this morning and shaved my head while I slept. I have video evidence of her entering my room, photographic evidence of the assault, and social media evidence of her posting about it publicly to humiliate me. I also have evidence that she has been having an affair with her married supervisor for the past 3 months. I want to know what my options are." Patricia Chen leaned forward, her expression shifting from professional concern to something sharper. "Let me see everything you have." I spent the next hour showing them every piece of evidence: the security footage, the photos of my head, the screenshots from Facebook, and finally, the 47 photographs from the brown envelope showing Chloe's affair with Marcus Delano. Edward's face grew more serious with each piece of evidence. Patricia took notes rapidly. "Isabeau," Patricia finally said, "what happened to you is absolutely assault and battery, breaking and entering, potentially criminal harassment given the social media post. With this video evidence, we have a very strong case. The question is, what outcome do you want?" I thought about Chloe's face this morning, that satisfied smile, her mocking voice, my son's laughter. "I want consequences," I said quietly. "I want her to understand that actions have repercussions. I want my son to see who he married, and I want justice." Patricia nodded slowly. "We can do that. We can file criminal charges. We can also pursue a civil case for emotional distress and damages. Given your public profile and the social media aspect, we could make this very uncomfortable for her." "And the affair?" I asked. "Can we use that?" Edward exchanged a glance with Patricia. "The affair itself is not illegal, but it could be relevant to her character and judgment, especially if it violated workplace policies. You mentioned Marcus Delano works at the same company? He is her direct supervisor. They are both married. I assume Carlson and Hughes has policies about that." "Most companies do," Patricia said. "We could make sure their HR department becomes aware of the situation. That would likely result in termination for one or both of them." I sat back in my chair and felt that cold satisfaction growing stronger. "What about my son?" He laughed while filming my humiliation. "He is married to her. How does that complicate things?" "Benjamin is not criminally liable for what Chloe did," Edward said gently. "But his behavior this morning, especially filming you, could be used to show a pattern of harassment. It strengthens your case. However, I need to ask you, Isabeau, what do you want to happen with your relationship with your son?" That was the question I had been asking myself all morning. What did I want? I thought about Benjamin as a little boy, climbing into my lap with scraped knees. Benjamin graduating from architecture school, his father's proud smile. Benjamin calling me the day Richard died, both of us sobbing on the phone. And then I thought about Benjamin this morning, laughing while his wife showed him footage of my destroyed head. "I want my son back," I said finally. "But not like this. Not as long as he is with her. Not as long as he thinks what happened this morning was acceptable. He needs to see the truth about who he married, and he needs to decide who he wants to be. If that means losing him for a while, then that is what it means." Patricia looked at me with something like respect. "Then here is what I suggest. We file criminal charges against Chloe. We send the evidence of the affair to Carlson and Hughes. We pursue a civil case for damages, and we prepare for the fallout, because when we do this, it is going to get ugly. Your son will have to choose sides. Chloe will fight back. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about the scarf wrapped around my head, about the hair on my pillow this morning, about 3 months of watching Chloe manipulate my son while sleeping with her boss, about my son's laughter. "Yes," I said, "I am prepared. Let's begin." I suppose I should explain how I got here. How a woman who built an $8 million consulting empire over 3 decades ended up sitting in a lawyer's office on her birthday planning legal warfare against her own daughter-in-law. The story really begins 4 years ago, though I did not know it at the time. Richard died on a Tuesday. I remember that detail because we had reservations at Le Bernardin that evening to celebrate closing a deal with a tech startup in Boston. He never made it to lunch. His secretary called me at 11:47 in the morning to say that Richard had collapsed during a board meeting. Massive heart attack. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. 53 years old, 28 years of marriage, gone in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee. The grief was crushing. I had built Sterling Consulting alongside Richard. We were partners in every sense of the word. He handled operations and client relations while I focused on strategy and restructuring. We were a perfect team. When he died, I lost not just my husband, but my business partner, my best friend, the person who knew me better than anyone else in the world. For months, I could barely function. I kept the business running on autopilot, but my heart was not in it anymore. Benjamin was 28 when his father died. He had just made junior partner at his architecture firm and was living in Brooklyn with 2 roommates. He came to stay with me for the first few weeks after Richard died, sleeping in his old bedroom, making sure I ate, handling all the logistics I could not face. We had always been close, but losing Richard brought us even closer. He was all I had left of the man I loved. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I held on too tight after Richard died. Maybe I made Benjamin feel responsible for my happiness in a way that was not fair to him. I tried to give him space, tried to encourage him to live his own life. But the truth was that his visits were the only things that got me through those first terrible months. Sunday dinners became sacred. Weekly phone calls became daily texts. I told myself I was just being a good mother, staying connected to my only child. But looking back now, I wonder if I was suffocating him without realizing it. 2 years after Richard died, Benjamin called me on a Wednesday evening. He sounded nervous, excited, different somehow. "Mom, I need to tell you something. I met someone. Her name is Chloe, and I think she might be the one." I was happy for him. Truly. He had dated casually over the years, but never seriously. Never anyone he brought home to meet us. The fact that he was calling to tell me about her meant this was significant. "Tell me everything," I said. And he did. They had met at a networking event 6 months earlier. She worked in marketing at a firm downtown. She was ambitious, beautiful, funny. She made him feel confident, made him feel like a man instead of just Richard Sterling's son. That last part should have been a warning sign, but I missed it. I was just relieved that Benjamin had found someone who made him happy. God knows he deserved happiness after watching his father die so young. I met Chloe 3 weeks later at dinner at my penthouse. She arrived in a dress that was slightly too tight and heels that were slightly too high, but she was undeniably beautiful. Blonde hair that I would later learn was heavily processed, blue eyes that assessed everything, a smile that showed perfect white teeth. She complimented my home effusively, gushing about the view, the art, the furniture. She asked intelligent questions about my work. She laughed at Benjamin's jokes. She touched his arm constantly, marking her territory. I tried to like her. I genuinely did. Benjamin was glowing in a way I had not seen since before Richard died. Chloe seemed to adore him, hanging on his every word, talking about their future together. But something felt off. I could not put my finger on it exactly. Maybe it was the way her eyes would dart around the room when she thought no one was watching, cataloging everything. Maybe it was the way her laugh sounded different when she talked to Benjamin versus when she talked to me. Maybe it was just my instincts, honed from 30-plus years of reading people across negotiating tables. After they left that night, I sat in my living room and tried to talk myself out of my reservations. I was being overprotective. I was projecting my grief onto Benjamin's happiness. I was jealous of anyone who would take my son's attention away from me. All of these things were probably true. So I pushed my doubts down and decided to be supportive. They got engaged 4 months later. Benjamin was ecstatic. Chloe cried when she showed me the ring, a princess-cut diamond that Benjamin had spent far too much money on. I threw them an engagement party at my penthouse, inviting 50 of their closest friends and family. I watched Chloe work the room that night, charming everyone, playing the role of the perfect bride-to-be. I watched Benjamin watch her, completely smitten. And I told myself that my doubts were just the paranoia of a widow who was afraid of losing her son. The wedding was 8 months later. Small ceremony, only 75 guests, at a boutique hotel in the Hamptons. I paid for everything, which Benjamin initially resisted, but Chloe graciously accepted. "Are you sure, Isabeau? That is so generous of you. We will pay you back someday, I promise." She never did, of course, but at the time I did not care. I wanted to give my son a beautiful wedding. I wanted to see him happy. I remember watching them exchange vows and feeling genuinely hopeful. Maybe I had been wrong. Maybe Chloe really did love Benjamin. Maybe they would have the kind of marriage Richard and I had. Maybe I would have grandchildren someday, and our family would grow instead of shrinking. I cried during the ceremony, and people probably thought it was because I missed Richard. That was part of it. but mostly I was crying because I was trying so hard to believe that everything would be okay. The first 6 months of their marriage seemed fine. They found an apartment in Chelsea that Benjamin bought with money from a bonus and a substantial gift from me as a wedding present. Chloe quit her old job and took the position at Carlson & Hughes with a significant pay increase. Benjamin made senior associate at his firm. They came to Sunday dinners most weeks. Everything seemed normal, but slowly, things started to change. Benjamin began canceling dinners at the last minute. Work emergencies, he said. Chloe was not feeling well. They had other commitments. When they did come, Chloe would make small comments. Isabeau, you really should update your kitchen. That marble is so dated. Do you ever think about downsizing? This place is so big for just one person. Benjamin tells me you still have his father's clothes in the closet. Don't you think it's time to let go? That last one cut deep. Yes, I still had some of Richard's clothes. His favorite cashmere sweater. The jacket he wore to our anniversary dinner in Paris. I was not ready to give them away, and I did not think that was anyone's business but my own. But Chloe said it in front of Benjamin, and he nodded like she had a point, like my grief had an expiration date that I had exceeded. The comments got more frequent, more pointed, always delivered with a smile, always in that sweet voice, but designed to hurt. And the strange thing was that Benjamin never seemed to notice, or if he did, he never defended me. He would just change the subject or make a joke to diffuse the tension. I started to realize that Chloe had figured out exactly how to undermine me without Benjamin catching on. Then came the financial issues. About a year into their marriage, Benjamin asked to borrow $20,000. Just temporary, he said. Cash flow problem with a renovation project at work. I gave him the money without hesitation. 3 months later, he asked for $30,000 more, then $50,000. Each time he promised to pay me back. Each time he had reasonable explanations, and each time I noticed that Chloe had just bought new furniture, or they had just returned from a weekend in Miami, or she was wearing a new designer handbag. I was not stupid. I knew what was happening. Chloe was spending money faster than they could earn it, and Benjamin was too proud or too embarrassed to tell her no. So he came to me, his wealthy mother, the ATM machine who would never say no to her only child. And he was right. I never did say no. I just kept writing checks and watching my son disappear further into a marriage that I was increasingly certain was a mistake. The breaking point should have come a year ago, at Thanksgiving. I hosted dinner at my penthouse, inviting Benjamin and Chloe plus a few close friends. Chloe drank too much wine and started telling stories about crazy controlling mother-in-laws she had read about online. Everyone laughed uncomfortably because it was obvious who she was talking about. Benjamin tried to change the subject, but she kept going, getting louder and more pointed. Some women just cannot let their sons grow up. They want to keep them as little boys forever. It is so unhealthy. I excused myself to the kitchen and stood there, hands gripping the counter, trying not to cry. One of my friends, Margaret, followed me in. Isabeau, why do you put up with that? That girl is toxic. She is Benjamin's wife, I said quietly. What am I supposed to do? You are supposed to set boundaries. You are supposed to tell her that behavior is unacceptable in your home. You are supposed to have enough self-respect not to let some 27-year-old brat talk to you like that. But I did not set boundaries. I just went back to the table and finished dinner and pretended nothing was wrong, because I was terrified that if I confronted Chloe, Benjamin would choose her over me. And after losing Richard, I could not bear the thought of losing my son too. So I swallowed my pride. I bit my tongue. I wrote the checks. I attended their dinners and smiled through Chloe's comments and told myself that maybe things would get better. Maybe she was just insecure. Maybe once they had been married longer, once she felt more secure in her relationship with Benjamin, she would relax and we could find a way to coexist peacefully. That was the situation 3 months ago when I noticed those credit card charges, the lunches at Balthazar, the hotel charges, and suddenly, all those late nights Benjamin claimed to be working made sense in a completely different way. Chloe was not insecure because of me. She was hostile because she was hiding something massive and saw me as a threat to her secret. Hiring the investigator felt like a betrayal of my son. But sitting in that lawyer's office with a scarf wrapped around my bald head, looking at 47 photographs of my daughter-in-law's affair, I realized something. I had been betrayed long before I hired that investigator. I had been betrayed by a woman who married my son for his money and connections while sleeping with her boss. I had been betrayed by my son who laughed while that woman humiliated me. And I was done accepting betrayal as the price of keeping my family together. So what happens next? I asked Edward and Patricia. Patricia closed her folder and looked at me directly. Next, we go to war. I left Edward's office at noon with a plan. Patricia would file criminal charges against Chloe by Monday morning. Edward would draft a civil suit for damages. And I would handle the most delicate part myself, talking to Benjamin. But first, I needed to go home and face whatever chaos Chloe had surely created in my absence. The taxi dropped me off in front of my building, and Carlos, the doorman who had worked there for 15 years, did a double take when he saw my scarf. "Mrs. Sterling, are you all right? You look different." "I am fine, Carlos. Just trying a new look." I smiled at him and walked to the elevator, feeling his concerned eyes on my back. The story would spread through the building staff by evening. Rich lady on the 15th floor showed up with her head wrapped up, looking shaken. I wondered how long it would take before everyone knew the truth. When I opened my penthouse door, I heard voices. Chloe and Benjamin were in my living room, sitting on my couch like they owned the place. They both looked up when I entered. Benjamin stood immediately, his face flushed. "Mom, where have you been? You were not answering your phone." "I had an appointment." I set my purse down on the console table and walked past them toward my bedroom. "And I do not recall inviting either of you to stay after what happened this morning." "Isabeau, wait." Chloe stood up too, her voice taking on that syrupy quality she used when she wanted something. "I think we need to talk about this morning. I think you overreacted." I stopped and turned to face her. "Overreacted. You broke into my bedroom at 2:43 in the morning, shaved my head while I slept, filmed the aftermath, posted it on social media for 47 people to see, and you think I overreacted when I asked you to leave." Benjamin's face went pale. "She posted it. Chloe, you said you were just taking a photo for yourself." "It was a private group," Chloe said defensively. "Just friends. I was venting about how controlling she has been lately. They needed context." "Context," I repeated slowly. "The context being that you physically assaulted me and then mocked me online. That context?" "It was not assault," Chloe snapped, dropping the sweet voice. "It was a prank. Maybe if you were not so uptight all the time, you could take a joke." "A joke?" I felt that cold anger from this morning settling back into my chest. "Tell me, Chloe, at what point does breaking and entering while someone sleeps become a joke? At what point does shaving someone's head without consent become funny?" Benjamin stepped between us. "Okay, let's everyone calm down. Mom, I know you are upset. You have every right to be. But Chloe didn't mean any real harm. She just what, Benjamin? She just thought it would be hilarious to humiliate me on my birthday? She just thought it would be fun to violate my privacy and my body? She just thought 47 strangers needed to see photos of her handiwork?" "They are not strangers," Chloe said. "They are my friends. And maybe if you had not been so judgmental and cold since the day we met, I would not need to vent about you to them." There it was, the real Chloe, without the mask. I looked at my son to see if he was finally seeing it too. But Benjamin just looked exhausted, caught between two women he did not know how to handle. "Can we please just talk about this, like adults?" he said quietly. "Adults do not assault people in their sleep," I said. "Adults do not post humiliating photos online. Adults do not break into locked rooms at 3 in the morning. Your wife is not acting like an adult, Benjamin. She is acting like a cruel child who thinks actions do not have consequences." "Consequences?" Chloe laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "What are you going to do, Isabeau? Kick us out? Cut Benjamin off financially? You have been holding money over his head his entire adult life. That is the only reason he still pretends to like you." Benjamin flinched. "Chloe, that's not true. Don't say that." But Chloe was on a roll now, all pretense of sweetness gone. "It is absolutely true. You told me yourself how suffocating she is, how she calls 10 times a day, how she acts like she owns you because she pays for everything, how you felt like you could not breathe until you met me, and I gave you permission to have your own life." I looked at my son. "Is that how you feel? That I suffocate you?" Benjamin could not meet my eyes. "Mom, it is not like that. It is just, after Dad died, You needed me a lot, and I wanted to be there for you. But sometimes it felt like I could not make any decisions without checking with you first. Something cracked inside my chest. Not my heart breaking exactly. More like scales falling from my eyes. My son was not just weak. He was a coward who had been complaining about me to his wife, feeding her ammunition to use against me, letting her think that attacking me was justified because I was the villain in their narrative. I see, I said quietly. Thank you for your honesty. Now I need you both to leave. We are not done talking about this, Chloe said. Yes, we are. I have nothing more to say to you. And Benjamin, when you are ready to have a real conversation without your wife present, you know where to find me. Until then, I need you both to go. Mom, Benjamin started. Now, please. They left finally. Chloe was still talking as they walked out, her voice rising, complaining about my attitude. Benjamin said nothing. The door closed behind them, and I stood in my empty living room, looking at the couch where they had been sitting, feeling nothing. No tears, no anger, just a cold, clear certainty about what needed to happen next. I spent the rest of Saturday organizing my evidence. I made copies of everything, the security footage, the photographs of my head, the screenshots from Facebook, the 47 photos from the investigator. I put one set in my safe, one in a safety deposit box at my bank, and one with Edward's office. I was not taking any chances that Chloe could somehow make this evidence disappear. Sunday was quiet. Benjamin did not call. I did not expect him to. I went to the farmer's market like I did every Sunday, wearing my scarf wrapped elegantly around my head. Several people I knew asked about the new look. I told them I was experimenting with style. Their faces said they did not quite believe me, but were too polite to push. Let them wonder. Soon enough, everyone would know the truth. Monday morning, Patricia filed the criminal charges: assault and battery, breaking and entering, criminal harassment. The police contacted me at 10 in the morning to take my statement. 2 officers came to my penthouse, a woman in her 40s named Detective Morrison and a younger man named Officer Chen. I showed them everything. The video footage of Chloe entering my room, the photos of my shaved head with the cuts visible, the social media posts. Detective Morrison's face hardened as she watched the video. Mrs. Sterling, this is very clear evidence of assault. We will be arresting Ms. Drayton today. Do you have any idea where she might be? She works at Carlson & Hughes. The office is in Midtown. But I would appreciate if you could wait until this evening to make the arrest. I have something else I need to handle first. She raised an eyebrow. What kind of something? I need to inform her employer about a separate issue. It would be better if that happened before the arrest becomes public knowledge. Detective Morrison exchanged a glance with Officer Chen. We can wait until 5 p.m., but after that, we are bringing her in regardless of where she is. That is all I need. Thank you. After they left, I called Edward. The criminal charges are filed. Can you contact Carlson & Hughes now? Are you certain about this, Isabeau? Once we send this information to her employer, there is no taking it back. She will likely be terminated. So will Marcus Delano. I am certain. Send everything. Edward paused. What about Benjamin? Have you told him what is coming? Not yet, but I am about to. I hung up and stared at my phone for a long moment. Then I called my son. He answered on the 3rd ring. Mom? Benjamin, I need you to come to my place this evening, alone, 6 o'clock. Do not bring Chloe. Do not tell her I called. This is important. What is this about? 6 o'clock, please. He agreed, sounding confused and wary. I spent the rest of the day preparing. At 2 p.m., Edward called to confirm that he had sent the complete dossier to Carlson & Hughes's Human Resources Department and Legal Counsel. Photos of Chloe and Marcus entering hotels, documentation of the dates and times. A professional letter explaining that this information was being provided as a courtesy, as the affair appeared to violate the company's code of conduct regarding relationships between supervisors and subordinates. At 3:30, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Isabeau Sterling? A woman's voice tight with emotion. Yes. Who is this? My name is Jennifer Delano. I think you know who my husband is. My heart rate picked up. Mrs. Delano, I am so sorry you had to find out this way. Find out? She laughed, but it was not a happy sound. I have known something was wrong for months. Marcus coming home late, taking calls in the other room, suddenly caring about his appearance again. But I did not have proof. And then today, HR from his company calls me to inform me that they are opening an investigation into inappropriate workplace conduct. They suggested I might want to speak with their legal department about protecting my interests in the marriage. So I called them back and asked what the hell they were talking about. And they told me about the photos. I am truly sorry, I said again. I did not want to cause you pain. But my daughter-in-law has been having an affair with your husband for 3 months, and I felt you had a right to know. Your daughter-in-law. Jennifer's voice was bitter. Of course. I should have guessed it was her. Chloe, the ambitious new manager who was always staying late to work on projects with Marcus, the one he said was just eager to learn from him. God, I was so stupid. You were not stupid. You trusted your husband. That is what spouses are supposed to do. Well, that trust is done now. I called a divorce attorney an hour ago, and I wanted to call you to say thank you. I know that sounds strange, but if you had not sent those photos, I would still be in the dark, still playing the fool while my husband screwed a woman young enough to be his daughter. We talked for another 10 minutes. She told me about her children, about the life she thought she had built, about how she should have seen the signs. I told her I understood more than she knew. By the time we hung up, I felt like I had made an unexpected ally. Jennifer Delano was not going to go quietly, and neither was I. At 4:45, Edward called again. Carlson and Hughes just terminated both of them, effective immediately. Security escorted them out of the building. Isabeau, it is done. Good. Thank you, Edward. At 5:15, my phone started buzzing. Text messages from Benjamin. Mom, what is happening? Chloe just got fired. The police are here. They are arresting her. What did you do? I did not respond. I just waited. At 5:53, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Benjamin standing there, face white with shock and anger. The police arrested Chloe. At our apartment, in handcuffs. They said you filed charges. They said you accused her of assault. Mom, what the hell is going on? Come in, Benjamin, sit down. We need to talk. He followed me inside but did not sit. He stood in the middle of my living room, shaking. She is at the police station right now. They said something about bail and arraignment. She was crying. She is terrified. And they would not tell me what this is about except that you filed charges. So I am asking you directly. What did you do? I walked to my desk and picked up a folder, the one with copies of all the evidence. I did what I should have done 3 months ago. I protected myself. Sit down. I do not want to sit down. I want you to tell me why my wife is in jail. Your wife is in jail because she committed a crime. Multiple crimes, actually. Assault and battery, breaking and entering, criminal harassment. She attacked me in my sleep, Benjamin. She violated my home and my body. And then she posted evidence of what she did online to humiliate me publicly. Did you really think there would be no consequences? Benjamin ran his hands through his hair. It was just a stupid prank that went too far. She feels terrible about it. She was going to apologize. You did not need to have her arrested. A stupid prank. I opened the folder and pulled out the photos of my head. The cuts. The blood. The uneven patches where she had hacked away my hair. Does this look like a prank to you? He looked at the photos and I saw him flinch. Okay, she went too far. But having her arrested, pressing criminal charges, that is insane, Mom. That is vindictive. Vindictive would be doing something to her without cause. This is justice. She broke the law. She hurt me. She humiliated me publicly. And yes, Benjamin, she is facing consequences, legal consequences, as she should. You are destroying her life over hair, Benjamin said, his voice rising. Hair that will grow back. This is insane. This is cruel. This is exactly what Chloe said you would do. What else did Chloe say I would do? I asked quietly. He stopped, realizing he had said too much. Nothing. Forget it. No. I want to know. What did your wife tell you I would do? Benjamin was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. She said you would try to destroy our marriage. She said you could not stand that I loved someone else. She said you would find some excuse to drive a wedge between us because you wanted me all to yourself. And look, Mom, look what you are doing. She was right. I felt something cold settle deep in my bones. My son actually believed this. He actually thought I was the villain here. Sit down, Benjamin. Please. There is more you need to know. I do not want to know anything except how to get Chloe out of jail. Your wife has been having an affair with her boss for the past 3 months. The words hung in the air between us. Benjamin stared at me like I had started speaking another language. What? Sit down. My voice left no room for argument this time. Benjamin sat slowly on the couch, his face draining of color. I placed the brown envelope in front of him on the coffee table. Open it. His hands shook as he pulled out the photographs. I watched his face as he looked through them, one by one. Chloe and Marcus having lunch, getting into his car, entering the hotel, that kiss in the parking lot, leaving the hotel with mussed hair, 47 photos documenting 3 months of betrayal. When? Benjamin's voice was barely a whisper. I started noticing the charges 3 months ago. The investigator delivered these 6 weeks ago. I've been sitting on them, Benjamin, waiting for you to figure it out yourself, waiting for Chloe to stop, waiting for some sign that I was wrong about everything. But then she broke into my room and attacked me, and I realized I was done waiting. Benjamin was crying now, silent tears running down his face as he stared at a photo of his wife kissing another man. Why didn't you tell me right away, when you first found out? Would you have believed me? Or would you have accused me of making it up to destroy your marriage, exactly like Chloe said I would? He could not answer that. We both knew the truth. He would not have believed me. He would have chosen Chloe's side, just like he had chosen her side this morning when she shaved my head, and he laughed. His name is Marcus Delano, I continued quietly. 45 years old, married 16 years, 2 children. He is Chloe's direct supervisor. They have been sleeping together on company time, charging hotels to the corporate card that you pay for as an authorized user. You have been funding your wife's affair without even knowing it. Benjamin made a sound like he had been punched. He doubled over, still holding the photos, and I thought for a moment he might vomit right there on my expensive rug. I need to go, he said suddenly, standing up. I need to go to the police station. I need to talk to her. Benjamin, wait. No. He turned to face me, and I saw real anger there for the first time. You knew for 3 months. 3 months, Mom. And you said nothing. You just sat on this information and let me keep living a lie. What kind of mother does that? The kind who did not want to see her son hurt. The kind who hoped she was wrong. The kind who wanted to give her daughter-in-law the benefit of the doubt despite every instinct screaming that this woman was wrong for you. Well, congratulations. You were right. You were right about everything. Chloe is awful. Our marriage is a lie. I am an idiot who could not see what was right in front of my face. Are you happy now? Did you get what you wanted? What I wanted was for my son to be happy, I said, feeling tears finally starting to form in my own eyes. What I wanted was to be wrong about her. What I wanted was for you to have the kind of marriage your father and I had. But instead, you married a woman who attacks sleeping people and sleeps with her married boss and treats you like an ATM machine. So no, Benjamin, I am not happy. I am devastated, for you and for us and for everything this has become. He stood there for a moment, photos still clutched in his hand. Then he dropped them on the coffee table and walked toward the door. I need time. I need to process all of this. I cannot be here right now. Benjamin. The door closed behind him. I stood in my empty living room, surrounded by evidence of betrayal and destruction, and finally let myself cry. I did not hear from Benjamin for 3 days. 3 days of silence that felt like 3 years. I left him 2 voicemails, both brief. I am here when you are ready to talk. I love you. Nothing more. I knew he needed space to process everything. The affair, the arrest, the realization that his wife was not who he thought she was. These were not small things. They were the kind of revelations that shattered a person's understanding of their own life. On Wednesday morning, Patricia called with an update. Chloe made bail, $25,000. Benjamin posted it. My stomach dropped. He what? He used his savings account. Showed up at the courthouse Tuesday morning and posted her bail. She is out, Isabeau. She is required to stay away from you, obviously. There is a restraining order in place. But she is home. Home. Their apartment. The one I had helped Benjamin buy. The thought of Chloe there, probably spinning some story about how this was all my fault, how I had orchestrated everything out of jealousy, made me feel sick. What happens next? Arraignment is scheduled for next Monday. She has already hired a lawyer, some guy named David Richter who specializes in defending assault cases. He is decent, but honestly, Isabeau, the evidence against her is overwhelming. The video alone is damning. My guess is they will try to negotiate a plea deal. I do not want a plea deal. I want this to go to trial. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Are you sure? Trials are public, messy, expensive, and they put you on the stand to be cross-examined. Richter will try to paint you as a vindictive mother-in-law who orchestrated this whole thing to destroy his client's marriage. He will bring up the affair investigation, suggest you hired the private detective to find dirt on Chloe. He will make you look bad. Let him try. I have nothing to hide. Chloe broke into my home and attacked me. That is a fact. Everything else is just noise. All right, if that is what you want, we will fight this all the way. But prepare yourself. It is going to get ugly. Thursday afternoon, I was in my home office reviewing documents for a consulting client when my doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. For a moment, I considered not answering, but something made me get up and check the video intercom. Benjamin stood there, looking exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt, hair uncombed. He looked like he had not slept in days. I buzzed him in and opened the door. We stood looking at each other for a long moment. Then he said, "Can I come in? I need to talk to you." Of course. He walked past me into the living room but did not sit. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, staring at the floor. Chloe says the photos are fake. She says you hired someone to Photoshop them to make her look bad. She says Marcus is just her mentor, and you twisted innocent business lunches into something sexual because you want to destroy our marriage. I waited. I knew there was more coming. I wanted to believe her, Benjamin continued quietly. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. So I did something I probably should not have done. I went through her phone while she was sleeping last night. My heart started beating faster. And messages. Hundreds of messages between her and Marcus going back 5 months. Not just professional stuff, sexual stuff, plans to meet at hotels, complaints about how his wife does not understand him, complaints about how I am too boring in bed, details about what they did together that I really wish I could unread. He looked up at me finally, and his eyes were red. She has been lying to me for months, maybe longer, maybe since the beginning. I do not even know who I married, Mom. I thought I knew her. I thought we had something real. But looking at those messages, I realized she never loved me. She loved what I could give her. The apartment, the lifestyle, the connection to you and your money. I was just a means to an end. I am so sorry, Benjamin. Are you? His voice turned sharp. Because part of me wonders if you are secretly happy about this. You never liked her. You were right about her from the start. So are you sitting here thinking I told you so? The accusation stung, but I understood where it was coming from. He was hurt and looking for someone to be angry at besides himself. No, I am not happy. I am heartbroken that my son is in pain. I am furious at the woman who caused that pain. But I am not happy about any of this. Benjamin sat down heavily on the couch. I paid her bail because I thought you had gone crazy. I thought you were overreacting to a stupid prank. I thought if I just got her out of jail, we could all sit down like adults and work this out. But now I do not know what to do. She is at the apartment right now, acting like everything is fine. Like I did not just discover months of betrayal on her phone. She actually had the nerve to ask if we were still going to my colleague's wedding next month. What do you want to do, Benjamin? I want to go back in time and never meet her. I want to trust my mother's instincts instead of thinking I knew better. I want my father to still be alive so I could ask him what the hell I should do now. His voice cracked on that last part. I sat down next to him and took his hand. Your father would tell you that you are stronger than you think, that you made a mistake but mistakes do not define you, that you can survive this and come out better on the other side. I do not feel strong. I feel like an idiot. You are not an idiot. You are a trusting person who got manipulated by someone who is very good at manipulation. There is no shame in that. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Benjamin said, I need to leave her. I know that, but I do not know how. We are married. We have a lease together. She does not have a job anymore, thanks to... He stopped himself. Thanks to me, I finished. You can say it. I got her fired. I got her arrested. I blew up your marriage. I know that is how you see it. Is that not what happened? No, Benjamin. What happened is that your wife committed crimes and violated company policy and faced the natural consequences of her own actions. I did not make her break into my bedroom and shave my head. I did not make her sleep with her married boss. I did not make her post photos of my humiliation online. She did those things, and yes, I made sure she faced consequences for them. But I did not create this situation. She did. Benjamin was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I need help. I need help leaving her. I need help figuring out the legal stuff, the divorce, all of it. And I know I do not deserve to ask you for anything after how I treated you. After I laughed when she showed me what she did to your head. After I took her side over yours. But I do not have anyone else, Mom. Can you help me? I squeezed his hand. Of course I will help you. That is what mothers do. Even after everything? Especially after everything. You are my son. That does not change just because you made mistakes. We all make mistakes. The important thing is what we do next. He leaned his head on my shoulder like he used to do when he was a little boy, and I felt something shift between us. Not a complete healing. The wounds were too fresh for that, but a beginning. A first step back toward each other. There is something else you should know, Benjamin said after a moment. Chloe is planning something. I heard her on the phone yesterday with her lawyer. They are going to try to paint you as an obsessed, controlling mother who could not stand that her son got married. They are going to say you hired the investigator to manufacture evidence of an affair that never happened. They are going to try to make you look crazy. Let them try. The evidence speaks for itself. She also said something about a countersuit, defamation or something. Her lawyer thinks they can argue that you destroyed her reputation and career without cause. I smiled, but it was not a kind smile. Then I look forward to seeing them try to prove that in court, because every single thing I told Carlson and Hughes was true and documented, and every charge Patricia filed was based on video evidence and physical evidence. They can spin whatever story they want. The facts do not change. Benjamin sat up and looked at me. When did you get so tough? You used to cry at commercials with sad dogs. I still cry at those commercials. But I also spent 32 years negotiating with people who tried to intimidate me in boardrooms. Your wife is amateur hour compared to some of the corporate sharks I have dealt with. She just does not know it yet. For the first time in days, Benjamin smiled. Just a small one, but it was there. She really picked the wrong person to mess with, didn't she? Yes, Benjamin. She really did. The next few days moved quickly. Benjamin moved out of the apartment he shared with Chloe on Friday, taking only his clothes and personal items. He stayed with a friend from work while he figured out his next steps. Patricia filed paperwork for an emergency divorce on his behalf, citing irreconcilable differences and infidelity. Chloe did not take it well. She showed up at my building twice on Saturday, screaming at Carlos to let her up so she could talk sense into that manipulative bitch. Carlos called the police both times, and they escorted her away with warnings about violating the restraining order. On Sunday, I received an unexpected visitor, Marcus Delano. He called from the lobby, his voice tight and desperate. Mrs. Sterling, I know I have no right to ask, but I need 10 minutes of your time. Please, it is important. Against my better judgment, I told Carlos to send him up. Marcus looked terrible when I opened the door. Unshaven, rumpled suit, eyes bloodshot. He was carrying a briefcase and looked like a man who had not slept in a week. Thank you for seeing me, he said. I know you have every reason to slam the door in my face. You have 5 minutes. Say what you came to say. He stepped inside, but remained near the door, like he knew he was not welcome further into my space. I am not here to make excuses. What I did was inexcusable. I betrayed my wife, my children, my company, and your son. I destroyed multiple lives because I was weak and selfish and thought I could get away with it. If you came here for absolution, you came to the wrong place. No, I came here to give you this. He opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. My lawyer told me to burn these. My soon-to-be ex-wife told me to hide them. But I am tired of lying. These are text messages between Chloe and me. Screenshots from her phone and mine. Emails, calendar invitations, Evidence of every single time we met, what we did, what we talked about, including things that might be relevant to your case against her. I took the folder but did not open it. Why would you give me this? This incriminates you. Because I am already incriminated. I already lost everything that mattered. My wife filed for divorce 3 days after she found out. My kids will not talk to me. My career is over. Every executive recruiter in the city knows what I did. I am radioactive. So at this point, the only thing I can do is tell the truth. And the truth is that Chloe is not who she pretends to be. Tell me something I do not know. Marcus ran his hand over his face. The affair was her idea. Not that it makes it better. I am still responsible for my choices. But she pursued me, not the other way around. She started staying late, finding excuses to be alone with me. She told me her marriage was dead, that Benjamin was boring and weak, that she had only married him to get access to his mother's money. She said once she established herself professionally. She was planning to divorce him and take half of everything. My blood went cold. She said that? Multiple times. It is in the text messages. She even joked about it. Called it her retirement plan. She figured if she stayed married to Benjamin for 5 years, she could divorce him and get alimony, plus a share of any assets he had. And she knew most of his assets came from you. I opened the folder and started reading. The messages were damning. Not just evidence of the affair, but evidence of Chloe's calculated manipulation. Messages where she complained about having to pretend to like me. Messages where she mocked Benjamin's devotion to his mother. Messages where she discussed strategies for isolating Benjamin from me so she could have more control over his finances. One message in particular made my hands shake. The old bitch is so easy to manipulate. I just have to play the victim and Ben jumps to defend me. A few more years of this, and we'll have enough saved that I can dump him and live comfortably. He'll probably run back to Mommy, and she'll support him forever, like the pathetic mama's boy he is. She sent that 6 months ago, Marcus said quietly. Right around the time you started noticing charges on the credit card. She was getting bolder, more confident. She thought she had everything figured out. Why are you showing me this? What do you want from me? Nothing. I want nothing from you except to know that I tried to do one decent thing after months of doing terrible things. Chloe is going to argue in court that you orchestrated everything to destroy her innocent marriage. These messages prove that is a lie. Her marriage was not innocent. She married your son for money and status and planned from the beginning to take him for everything she could. You deserve to have that evidence. He handed me a thumb drive from his briefcase. Everything is on here too, backed up, authenticated. My lawyer is a witness to the fact that I am giving this to you voluntarily. Use it however you need to. Marcus left without another word. I stood in my doorway holding a folder and a thumb drive full of evidence that my daughter-in-law was even worse than I had imagined. She had not just betrayed Benjamin. She had targeted him from the beginning, seen him as a mark, a means to an end. And I was the ultimate prize. My money, my connections, my resources. Benjamin was just the key to get to me. I called Patricia immediately. I just received evidence you need to see. When can you come over? She arrived within an hour. I watched her face as she read through the messages, her expression growing darker with each page. This is gold, Isabeau. This completely destroys any narrative that Chloe was an innocent victim of your manipulation. This shows premeditation. It shows motive. It shows that she specifically targeted Benjamin because of his connection to you and your wealth. Can we use it in the criminal case? Absolutely. It establishes motive for the assault. She was angry that you were standing in the way of her plans. The attack on your birthday was not just a prank. It was retaliation against someone she saw as an obstacle. This elevates the entire case. Monday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from numbers I did not recognize. I checked my email and found 43 messages from reporters. Somehow, the story had leaked. Local socialite's daughter-in-law arrested for birthday attack. Consulting executive files assault charges after being shaved in sleep. Manhattan, mother-in-law, drama turns criminal. The story was everywhere. Local news, business journals, even some national outlets picked it up because of my profile in the consulting world. My phone would not stop ringing. I turned it off and sat in my living room, wondering how my private nightmare had become public entertainment. Benjamin called on my landline at 10. "Mom, have you seen the news?" "Yes, I have seen it. Chloe is losing her mind. Reporters have been camped outside our apartment building since 7 this morning. Her lawyer is telling her to give a statement, but I told her that would be insane. Mom, what do? We do nothing. We let Patricia handle media inquiries. We stay quiet and let the legal process play out. And Benjamin, you need to be very careful right now. Chloe is desperate. Desperate people do unpredictable things. She keeps saying she wants to talk to you. She says if you would just listen to her side, you would understand. She says she can explain everything. There is nothing to explain, and I have a restraining order against her. She is not allowed to contact me directly or through intermediaries. That includes you, Benjamin. If she keeps trying to use you to reach me, she will be in violation and she will go back to jail. I think she is planning something. I found her in the apartment last night, going through boxes in the closet. When I asked what she was looking for, she said it was none of my business. She has been making calls at weird hours, talking quietly so I cannot hear. Something is happening. That night, I found out what Chloe had been planning. At 8 p.m., I received an email from an address I did not recognize. No subject line. Just a link to a YouTube video. My stomach tightened as I clicked it. The video started with Chloe sitting in what looked like our living room. She had clearly been crying. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged strategically. "My name is Chloe Drayton, and I need to tell you my story," she began, her voice shaking. "For the past 2 years, I have been married to a wonderful man. But his mother, Isabeau Sterling, has made our lives a living hell." I watched in growing disbelief as Chloe spun a completely fabricated narrative. According to her version, I was an obsessive, controlling mother who could not accept that my son had gotten married. I monitored their finances. I showed up at their apartment unannounced. I criticized everything from Chloe's clothes to her cooking. I made it clear that she would never be good enough for my son. And when I tried to lighten the mood on her birthday with a harmless prank, just cutting her hair as a joke, something friends do all the time, she used it as an excuse to destroy me, Chloe said, tears rolling down her face. She filed false charges. She sent fake evidence of an affair to my employer and got me fired. She is trying to destroy my marriage, my career, my entire life. And why? Because I committed the crime of loving her son. The video went on for 12 minutes. Chloe showed screenshots of text messages between her and Benjamin, carefully selected and edited to make it look like I was constantly interfering in their relationship. She showed bank statements with my name on them, suggesting I was financially controlling Benjamin. She even showed photos of my penthouse, implying that I used my wealth to intimidate and control everyone around me. "I am not a perfect person," Chloe concluded, wiping her eyes. "I made a mistake with the hair thing. I know that now, but I do not deserve to be arrested. I do not deserve to have my life destroyed. I am just a young woman who fell in love with a man whose mother cannot let him go. Please, if you are watching this, please understand that Isabeau Sterling is not the victim here. I am." The video ended. I sat staring at my computer screen, feeling something cold and furious building in my chest. Chloe had gone nuclear. She had taken our private family nightmare and turned it into a public relations campaign. And judging by the comments already appearing under the video, some people were believing her. Controlling mother-in-laws are the worst. She probably did make up the affair evidence. Rich people think they can destroy anyone who gets in their way. Team Chloe. But there were other comments too. Did she just admit to assaulting someone and call it a prank? If the evidence was fake, why did she get fired? Something about her story does not add up. She is playing victim after literally shaving someone's head while they slept? I called Patricia. "Have you seen the video?" "I am watching it right now. Isabeau, this is actually good for us. She just admitted on camera to cutting your hair. She is calling it a prank, but she admitted she did it. That is a confession. Her lawyer is going to lose his mind when he sees this. What do we do?" "Nothing. We do not respond. We do not engage. We let her keep talking and digging her hole deeper. Trust me, this video is going to backfire on her spectacularly. The prosecutor is probably already adding it to evidence as we speak." Sure enough, within 2 hours, legal analysts on Twitter were tearing apart Chloe's video. Former prosecutors pointed out that admitting to assault while calling it a prank was not actually a defense. Employment lawyers noted that claiming the affair evidence was fake did not explain why her employer found it credible enough to terminate her. Criminal defense attorneys suggested that whoever advised her to make this video should be fired immediately. By Tuesday morning, the narrative had shifted. News outlets that had initially presented the story as a he said, she said drama were now taking a harder look at the facts. The video footage of Chloe entering my bedroom at 3 a.m. was leaked somehow. I suspected Patricia's office had something to do with that, and suddenly public opinion swung decisively in my direction. Woman admits to assault, calls it prank. Daughter-in-law's claims fall apart under scrutiny. When playing victim backfires. Wednesday afternoon, I received a call from David Richter, Chloe's lawyer. Mrs. Sterling, I am calling to discuss a possible resolution to this situation. My client is willing to offer a formal apology and agree to counseling in exchange for you dropping the criminal charges. No. I understand you are angry, but please consider. Your client broke into my home while I slept and physically assaulted me. Then she mocked me publicly. Then she destroyed her own defense by admitting to it on YouTube while spinning a fantasy about being the victim. There will be no deal. We are going to trial, and I am going to watch her face the full consequences of her actions. Mrs. Sterling, be reasonable. A trial will be expensive and time-consuming for everyone involved, and you cannot guarantee a conviction. Mr. Richter, I have video evidence of your client entering my bedroom at 3 a.m. I have photographic evidence of the assault she committed. I have documentation of her posting about it online. I have her own confession on video calling it a prank. And now, thanks to Marcus Delano, I have text messages showing that she married my son specifically to gain access to my wealth and was planning to divorce him and take his money all along. I have more evidence than most prosecutors ever dream of. So, yes, I can guarantee a conviction. The only question is how much prison time she is going to get. There was a long silence on the line. You have text messages? Months of them. Authenticated, backed up, ready to be entered into evidence? Your client should have thought about consequences before she decided to play games with me. I hung up before he could respond. My phone rang again immediately. Benjamin. Mom, Chloe's lawyer just called me. He said something about text messages from Marcus? What is he talking about? Marcus Delano gave me evidence that your wife targeted you from the beginning. She married you to get to my money, Benjamin. She planned the whole thing. I have proof. I need to see it. Are you sure? It is not easy to read. I need to see it. I sent him the files. 20 minutes later, he called back. He was not crying this time. His voice was flat, emotionless. I am going to the apartment right now to get the rest of my things, and then I am coming to your place. I need to know that I am doing the right thing. I need you to tell me that leaving her is the right choice. Benjamin, you already know it is the right choice. But yes, come over. We will talk, and we will figure out what comes next, together. That evening, Benjamin sat in my living room surrounded by boxes of his belongings. We ordered Chinese food and ate in silence for a while. Then he said, I keep thinking about the first time I met her, the networking event. She approached me, not the other way around. She asked about my work. She seemed so interested in everything I said. I thought I was the luckiest guy in the room because this beautiful woman was paying attention to me. But she already knew who I was, didn't she? She had probably researched me, found out about you, decided I was a good target. Probably. I was never special to her. I was just useful. You are special, Benjamin. You were just special to the wrong person. That does not mean you are not special. He smiled sadly. Dad would have seen through her in 5 minutes. Your father had good instincts about people, but he also made mistakes. Everyone does. The important thing is that you see the truth now. What happens next? After the trial? After the trial, you rebuild your life. You remember who you were before Chloe. You figure out who you want to be going forward. And you move on. Will we be okay? You and me? I reached over and took his hand. We are already okay. We might need time to fully heal, but we are okay. My phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Richter just filed notice of plea negotiations. They want to deal. She knows she's going to lose. I smiled and squeezed my son's hand. Yes, Benjamin, we are going to be just fine. The plea deal came through 2 weeks later. Chloe pled guilty to assault and battery and criminal trespassing in exchange for the harassment charges being dropped. She received 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, mandatory anger management counseling, and a permanent restraining order keeping her at least 500 feet away from me at all times. She also had to pay restitution for my medical expenses and emotional distress, $35,000. It was not about the money. It was about acknowledgement, about her admitting in a legal document that would follow her forever that she had hurt me and owed me compensation. David Richter tried one last time to negotiate the restraining order down. Mrs. Sterling, my client will need to attend family events occasionally, weddings, funerals, holidays involving her husband's family. The 500 feet requirement makes that impossible. Your client should have considered that before she assaulted me. The restraining order stands. She is still married to Benjamin. You cannot expect them to never be in the same room with you. Actually, I can, because Benjamin filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. By the time any family events occur, they will no longer be married. So this is not my problem. It is hers. The divorce moved faster than I expected. Chloe tried to fight it at first, demanding spousal support and half of everything Benjamin owned. But once her lawyer saw the text messages with Marcus, the evidence of her premeditated targeting of Benjamin and the criminal conviction on her record, he advised her to take whatever deal Benjamin offered. She walked away with nothing except her personal belongings and the car that was in her name. Benjamin kept the apartment, his savings, and his dignity. The fallout at Carlson and Hughes was extensive. Marcus Delano was not just fired, but blacklisted throughout the industry. His wife Jennifer took him for everything in their divorce. Last I heard, he was working at a small marketing firm in New Jersey, making a quarter of what he used to earn. Jennifer and I met for coffee once. She thanked me again for the photos and told me her daughters were thriving now that their father was out of the house. They can feel the difference, she said. The tension is gone. We are happier without him. Chloe disappeared from social media entirely after the plea deal. Her YouTube video was taken down, though not before it had been downloaded and reposted by dozens of legal commentary channels dissecting how not to defend yourself in a criminal case. The last I heard, she had moved back to New Jersey to live with her parents while she looked for work. The criminal record and the very public nature of her case made employment difficult. Nobody wanted to hire someone who was known for assaulting people in their sleep and posting about it online. Benjamin moved back into my building, into a smaller apartment on the 10th floor. Not with me, but near me. Close enough that we could have Sunday dinners again without him having to cross the city. Far enough that we both had our space and independence. It took months of therapy, both individual and a few joint sessions, for us to rebuild our relationship. He had to work through his guilt over not believing me, over laughing when Chloe showed him my shaved head, over choosing her side so many times. I had to work through my resentment and hurt, and also my own role in becoming too dependent on him after Richard died. I put too much pressure on you after your father died, I told him during one of our sessions. I made you responsible for my happiness in a way that was not fair. That probably made you want to escape, and Chloe represented that escape. You lost your husband, Mom. Of course you leaned on me. That is what family does. The problem was not you needing support. The problem was me not knowing how to set healthy boundaries. And then Chloe took advantage of that confusion. Our therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, nodded. What I am hearing is that you both contributed to dynamics that were not healthy, and you both got hurt because of it. But you are both here now, doing the work to build something better. That is what matters. She was right. We were building something better. Slowly, carefully, but better. My hair grew back over the following months. I kept it short, a silver pixie cut that I actually loved more than my old style. It felt like a new beginning, like I had shed not just hair, but old versions of myself that no longer served me. Women stopped me on the street to compliment the cut. So elegant, they said. So chic. If they only knew the story behind it. 6 months after the plea deal, I was having lunch at Balthazar. Yes, the same restaurant where Chloe used to meet Marcus. I chose it deliberately, when I saw her. She was across the room, sitting alone, picking at a salad. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Her blonde hair had grown out dark at the roots. She was not wearing makeup. She looked like someone who had been through hell and had not quite made it out the other side. Our eyes met for just a moment. I saw fear flash across her face. She probably thought I would make a scene. Call security. Have her thrown out for violating the restraining order, even though we were clearly more than 500 feet apart. But I did neither of those things. I just looked at her, this woman who had tried to destroy me and ended up destroying herself, and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just a mild curiosity about how someone could throw away so much for so little. I turned back to my lunch companion, Margaret, my friend who had told me months ago to set boundaries, and continued our conversation about an upcoming charity gala. I did not look at Chloe again. She was not worth my attention. Margaret noticed, though. Was that her? The infamous daughter-in-law? Yes. She looks terrible. She made her choices. She is living with the consequences. Do you ever regret how hard you came down on her? The charges, the evidence to her employer, all of it? I thought about the question seriously. Did I regret it? I thought about waking up without my hair, the cuts on my scalp, the mockery on social media. I thought about Benjamin's laughter. I thought about the text messages planning to use my son and then discard him. I thought about 2 years of subtle cruelty and calculated manipulation. No, I said finally. I do not regret it. She attacked me and I defended myself. That is all that happened. Everything else was just consequences catching up with choices. Good, Margaret said, raising her wine glass. To women who fight back. I clinked my glass against hers. To women who fight back. Benjamin got promoted at work 4 months after his divorce was finalized, senior associate to junior partner. He called me as soon as he got the news, his voice excited in a way I had not heard in years. Mom, I did it. On my own merit. Not because of Dad's name or your connections, just my work. I never doubted you for a second. Congratulations, sweetheart. Let me take you to dinner to celebrate. We went to Le Bernardin, the restaurant where Richard and I had reservations the day he died. It had taken me 4 years to go back there, but sitting across from my son, watching him talk excitedly about his new responsibilities, I felt like Richard was there with us somehow. Proud of Benjamin for finding his strength, proud of me for protecting our son even when it meant making hard choices. Are you dating anyone? I asked, trying to sound casual. Benjamin laughed. Mom, it has only been 4 months since my divorce. I am not ready to even think about that yet. Fair enough. But when you are ready, I promise to be supportive. Even if I have concerns, I will share them gently and then trust your judgment. And I promise to actually listen to your concerns instead of dismissing them as controlling behavior. Deal? Deal. We toasted to new beginnings. My 58th birthday came 10 months after Chloe had shaved my head. I spent it quietly. Just Benjamin and Margaret and a few close friends for dinner at my penthouse. No drama, no attacks, just good food, good wine, and good company. Benjamin gave me a gift, a framed photo of Richard and me from our 20th anniversary trip to Paris. The one where we were laughing on the steps of Sacré-Cœur, the city spread out behind us. I found it in Dad's office, Benjamin said. I thought you might want it. I hung it in my bedroom that night, right where I could see it first thing every morning. Richard's smile, my younger self's joy, a reminder of what real love looked like. What I had had and lost, what Benjamin deserved to find someday with someone worthy of him. As I got ready for bed that night, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Short, silver hair. 67 years old, but standing tall. Confident. Strong. Survived. I thought about that morning a year ago. Standing in this same spot, looking at my destroyed reflection, feeling violated and humiliated. I thought about how far I had come since then. Chloe had tried to break me. She had tried to humiliate me, to diminish me, to turn my own son against me. And for a moment, she had succeeded. For a moment, I had felt small and powerless and defeated. But only for a moment, because I was Isabeau Sterling. I had built an $8 million empire from nothing. I had survived losing the love of my life. I had negotiated with corporate sharks who would eat someone like Chloe for breakfast. And I had learned a long time ago that the best revenge is not matching cruelty with cruelty. It is simply refusing to be destroyed. It is standing back up, stronger than before, and living well. I touched my short silver hair, smiled at my reflection, and thought, Gusto du meilleur présent, Chloe? Did you like my gift? Because the gift I gave you was consequences. The gift I gave you was justice. The gift I gave you was the lesson that some women cannot be broken, no matter how hard you try. Happy birthday to me, indeed. I turned off the light and went to bed, sleeping peacefully in my locked bedroom, in my safe home, surrounded by people who loved me. And in the morning, I would wake up and continue building the life I deserved, the life Richard would be proud of, the life I had fought for and earned, because that is what survivors do. We wake up, we keep going, we win, and I had most definitely won.